Welcome everybody to Catholic Owned Live. Today we have a wonderful guest with us. I apologize, but I am your host, Brooke Joyner. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Catholic Owned, where we are building the new Catholic economy. The Catholic Owned live stream is all about real conversations about what it takes to build the new Catholic economy with work, vocation, and everyday life. And so today I have a wonderful guest, Jose Gonzalez, joining me. Jose, thank you for being my guest today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Brooke. Really excited to have a conversation and dive in here. So,
Yeah, this is going to be fun because you do all the fun stuff. So, real quick for our audience, Jose Gonzalez is a former Catholic educator who now owns and runs his own travel business. He loves planning both vacations and pilgrimages, and he specializes in cruises and European travel.
yes,
So, all the good stuff.
all the good stuff. Yeah. I love to travel, and I love to help people travel as well. So,
Oh,
yes.
beautiful. Well, I'd love to hear if you just want to kick off and share how did you get into the travel business and a little about your journey so far.
Yes, I'd love to share. So, as you mentioned in my bio, I was a Catholic high school religion teacher for 10 years. I then moved into the nonprofit space for a while. I still work a little bit part time there, where I taught teachers instead of kids. But a lot of that time was spent traveling. So I've traveled a lot, particularly in working with Sophia Teachers, which was full time for 12 years. I did a lot of traveling all over the US. But in addition to all of that, I have always sort of just been the planner for all of our family trips, for trips with friends. I can remember even back in 2000 when I was studying in Europe, studying abroad in Austria. This is back before there's apps, there's no smartphones. I was the one who, if our group was going to Poland for the weekend, or if our group was going to like France for the weekend, I would take care of figuring out the train schedules, everything, and then I just kind of led the group, and I was like, "Here we go." But then, even beyond that, after college and into marriage and family life, I've always sort of been the planner. And a few years ago, I was helping some friends plan a trip, and I helped them just completely out of the kindness of my heart. They came back from that trip and they were like, "Jose, we had such an amazing time. Why are you not getting paid to do this?" And I thought to myself, yeah, why not? Maybe I should look into it. So I looked into it a little bit. I had a friend who had started with a travel agency, and so with a host agency, and so I went in to the same agency that she was a part of. Didn't do much research. It kind of worked out and landed well, thankfully. So it ended up being a great fit. I started about 4 years ago with the intention of this is just going to be a side hustle and fun money, and not really expecting it for it to become a career. And within about a year and a half, my business really took off. Really, in the first 6 months, I saw numbers I was not expecting to see. And I saw income coming in a way that was like, maybe I should consider really going all in on this. And so on June 1st of this year, I scaled back at Sophia very significantly, back to the point where I'm doing kind of some part-time contract work for them, but as a whole, I'm running my own business. I'm my own boss. I'm my own. I have my own world at this point, and so I'm my own boss, and I have really my business has really grown tremendously and continues to grow, and it's just a really great the way that um, being a business owner, running a business like this really gives me the opportunity to be present as a husband and father in a whole new way, and I'm loving it. So
That's awesome. Well, and you've been a member of Catholic Own kind of along the journey, which is just beautiful.
yeah,
Um, So I would like to start with one question, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. As Catholics, especially online, it can be, oh, if you're traveling, it needs to be like only for religious reasons, or kind of the shoulds, like the shoulds. I always
Yeah.
think about those. Um, from your perspective, could you share why a Catholic family should or may want to consider travel for leisure and how that could help their Catholic faith?
Yeah, excellent. That's a great question. So I remember talking to, this was actually something I really grappled with a little bit, because having been in ministry for over 20 years and then coming in to something like this that doesn't necessarily feel like ministry, feels sort of secular. I kind of grappled like, what am I promoting? Is this really good? And I remember talking to a mentor friend and him saying, Jose, a lot of times Catholics, and especially those of us who work really hard, whether it be in ministry or in some other business or corporate world, where those things take up a lot of time and take us away from our families, sometimes we think to ourselves, oh, I really need a retreat to step away and connect with God, or maybe a pilgrimage. And while that's true on some occasions, and those things are very good, and we should do those things as well, he said, sometimes you don't need a retreat or a pilgrimage. You actually need a vacation. And the reality of that really struck me and struck a chord with me when he was saying that. And then if I think back to the times that I have stepped away for true leisure and true vacation with my family, what happens? I connect more profoundly with my wife. I connect more profoundly with my kids. We come back refreshed. We come back more bonded. We come back really more re-energized to go back into the day-to-day of family life and living our vocations the way that we're meant to. And so just like a retreat or a pilgrimage helps us sort of step away and connect more with God, vacation for leisure helps us step away and connect more with our family and our loved ones. But also, if we're doing it right, it can also help connect us with God in a different way, in the sense that maybe I'm not on retreat, but I don't need to take a vacation from my faith. I need to take a vacation from my daily life. So on, on a vacation for leisure, it's also real easy because the Catholic faith is everywhere and penetrates everything that we do and our whole world. If we're paying attention, there are moments and times within those vacations for leisure that we can make to connect with God, right? So maybe it's a shrine along our journey, that we weren't sure was there, or maybe it's just simply continuing our routine of daily mass, or obviously Sunday mass, while we're on vacation, or making time for prayer, right? I absolutely love on vacation taking that morning coffee and sitting with ocean or mountain views and opening that breviary or opening my scripture. And to do that in that sort of a location kind of breathes a little bit of different life and variety into the prayer life. And then just discovering things as you go and integrating. My family and I were getting ready to do a national parks trip, right? We're going to experience God through the beauty of his creation in that. It may not be specific, but we're also like, oh, let's stop in Santa Fe where the famous St. Joseph stairs are, right? So travel for leisure makes it is something that can still very much incorporate the faith, but I think it is just as necessary in our daily lives as taking those yearly spiritual retreats or maybe pilgrimages every so often.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and I believe the virtue for like good enjoyment of leisure is like atrophilia, something like that. And someone in the comments correct me if I'm saying it incorrectly.
Yeah.
But it is truly one of the virtues to be able to put down the work and to take a break. And I know I'm absolutely horrendous.
Right.
It's the worst for me.
Yes.
So
Put down the work and put put down the work and put down the phone, like in this day and age, right? Put down the electronics, put down the work. Uh, but yeah, and I'll tell you right now that I think that's probably one of the hardest things as someone being a part of this industry, right? When I step away, I still have clients that need me. So like that's a tricky thing to navigate. Speaking of someone who lives in the industry, I often have to remind myself the importance of when I step away, like figuring out a way for me to step away, because I would say that's the biggest struggle for me is
Yeah.
I can step away from almost everything unless there's a client emergency, and that's when it's like, oh, what do I do, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I know, like for us, I mean, we don't even do it. Like we don't even take like actually Subway this year, this summer for the first time. Um, in I mean, I'm not gonna even say. So, anyways, my parents came to visit us, and
Oh,
we went about an hour from where we live and stayed at a lake house
oh, that's
for 2 nights. But that was like a huge deal. That's a
right.
huge deal for us.
But you know what? Sometimes that's all that we can give, whether it's because of the demands of what we have in our lives, or maybe even budget wise, right? Like
Right.
I think a 2 night or 3 night vacation is just as valuable as
Mhm.
a 2 week or a 1 week one, because not everybody's in a situation where they can get away for 2 weeks or even a week, right? Particularly, and you talk about building a Catholic economy. Well, the reality of the economy is more and more I'm seeing clients take 3, 4, and 5 night trips rather than week long or 2 week trips, because the budget just isn't there to make it, you know,
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
it well. And so
It's
something's better than nothing.
that's right. That's right. And that's what we said. It's like, a couple of days is better than no days. And I have experienced I did one brief trip, and I it wasn't like a clear like I'm gonna do it. It was like, oh, you should do it. Again, the shoulds, talking about the
Right.
shoulds again. And I actually it wasn't as great. So I find for me to enjoy a trip, I have to like totally decide
Yes.
and like make a whole plan around it. And it's which is just it's hard for families, of course. But one vacation, and I feel like cruises get a lot of slack, and people like think they have mixed opinions. But Mateo and I, we think that would be really cool. So could you tell us what's going on with cruises and are they worth considering to take?
Yes. So here's the deal. I have discovered that people either love cruising or hate cruising. And I totally get that. There's not much in the middle. Now there are people who are curious about cruising and they're not sure if they would like it. So a couple things. I love it. I had not been on a cruise until I became a travel advisor. And one of my first goals when I became a travel advisor 4 years ago was I need to get on a cruise. I think I've done 6 or 7 cruises since then. My kids have been on several. My kids just got back from one by themselves with my two oldest with grandma. Um, Cruising to me is a great way to travel because it is a great way to see several places and only unpack once. Now, I will say this. If you are uncertain if you will like cruising, which I get the trepidation, I would do one of two things. I would either do a short 3 night Bahamas cruise, because then you're not committed, right? It's 3 nights, you figure it out. Yeah, I liked that. I want to come back for more, right? Me, 3 nights is not long enough. You will not find me on a 3 night cruise. I want at least 5 nights. But if you're uncertain, 3 night or the other thing, do an Alaskan cruise is where I recommend people who are to start with Alaska, because Alaska is not quite the commitment to go all the way over to Europe, but you're now going and seeing, like, you're going for the destination rather than the ship, because a lot of people just cruise for the ship. If you're like, I want to see something unique and experiencing it, Alaska is one of those places that seeing it through cruising is one of the best ways to see it. There's land portions and other things you can do that to tack on, but really, like, the cruising experience in Alaska is one of the most amazing ways to see that part of the country. And so if you're uncertain, that's where I would start. In general, there are two types of, if you love cruising, there's two types of people. There's those who I say love to cruise for the destination. So they're not committed to a particular ship. They don't really care about the ship. So you're going to do your Alaskas or your Europes where they're port heavy. You're going to get off at every port. And then there's folks that just love the idea of being on the ocean and they don't care where the ship's going. And those are going to be a lot more your Caribbean and your Bahamas cruisers, right? Your folks that have been to the same port multiple times and they've gotten to a point where they don't even get off the ship when the ship docks. Your folks that love the casino and love the feel of just being on a floating hotel, basically. I'm more of a destination guy. The floating hotel thing to me is okay, great. But at this point, I want to go unique places, and cruising is a great way to do it. Then you have your river cruising. That's another one. If you have the budget for it and you're afraid of motion, your river is going to be also almost motion free. So to do a river cruise that's going through Europe, docking in some really like amazing ports and in convenient areas where it's very easy, you can do the short excursion or you can walk off. Small ships, like 170, between 150 and 180 people max on these ships. And you see a lot. And then the motion of the ship is almost non-existent on a river cruise. So it's very great way to explore and see. So I think cruising for me it's a very easy way to vacation because everything's packaged right there. You go, you show up, and everything's taken care of for you, right? The food is there. The entertainment is right there. You can book the shore excursions or even explore on your own. And it's just a very easy, kind of relaxed way to do things, right? Especially if you're somebody who, I would say if you're someone who's used to doing like guided group travel, like there's companies or even pilgrimages, right? Where it's like you're on a bus, you get shuttled from place to place and you're on a tight time crunch without much free time. And you want to try something a little different, but you don't want to be totally independent because that freaks you out. Cruising is actually a great way to ease into traveling on your own independently and exploring on your own because you're on the ship's schedule, but you don't have somebody like a tour director like guiding you around from place to place, and you have a little more freedom to sort of travel at your leisure, right? Within the parameters of the docking schedule. But yeah, so
well, and I think that is what is attractive, like in my mind, that so many like decisions are already made, and when you're out there you're not having to come up with like what you're gonna eat, and what if the restaurant you planned is closed and then you have to get a different Uber, like all of those logistical details. So I think that's kind of why the whole cruise idea is attractive to me.
yeah.
The other thing that I would love to just ask you about is, because if it's not a cruise, then the other idea that kind of offers similar is some of the all-inclusive resorts.
Yes.
But I feel like they are less and less. But I would love to hear your insights on the all-inclusive resorts.
Okay. So I love all-inclusive resorts as well. I will say this is where I feel like my value as a travel advisor definitely comes in the most handy. You'll get great value from me regardless of the trip that you book, but particularly with an all-inclusive resort, one, the amount of options are endless. And not all inclusive resorts are created equal. I can tell you that there are some pretty terrible ones out there that Instagram and websites make look really good. And you're going to show up and you're going to realize you just made a $10,000 mistake. So all inclusive resorts, I would approach with caution and make sure you have a trusted professional to help you with. I have learned a lot about this. I would say this is the area I've grown the most in. I made a couple of mistakes in my early first year of sending people to some resorts I thought were great and were not. And so I have a list of do not books, and then I have a list of my go-tos of. I have a list of go-to family. I have a list of go-to adults only, and then I have a list of even more budget-friendly options that I'm like, these are the ones I will book and I feel comfortable booking. I'm constantly looking for that list to grow, but there are certain, because it's so big, there's no way I'm going to know all about them. But what I love about all-inclusive resorts is, one, you pay they're packaged so beautifully, but with the flights and the hotel, you literally see the bill, you pay it, you go, and you do not have to spend another dime. So it literally feels like, because by the time you go, it's paid off, right? You've already paid for it. So it literally almost feels, it almost feels quote unquote free, right? Because once you've spent it, it's paid for. You can go and not spend a dime if you don't want to, right? A lot of these resorts have activities, they have shows at night, they have kids clubs, they have really great dining options, great cocktails. You can just go and enjoy. And in some cases, for the Catholic in Mexico, believe it or not, some of these resorts have Catholic chapels where masses are said on resort. And if not, there's a resort a half a block down that has one. So to me, an all-inclusive resort, especially in Mexico, in Jamaica and the Dominican Republic, a little harder, but still not difficult. A lot of these islands, one, it's easy to get to mass from your resort, and in some cases, it's offered right there. And then the whole package is included. Now, if you want to go experience other parts of the island or the destination, which I 100% encourage you to do, and your budget allows it, then yes, you pay a little extra for an excursion to, say, go snorkeling, to a nearby island, or to go ziplining nearby, or go to a hike, or go to a nature preserve, right? Definitely, those options are there. But what I love about all-inclusive resorts is they are set up in a way that if you want to go explore and experience more, you can. But if not, you have a sanctuary right there to spend time as a family, not worry about who's going to eat. The kids, what I love about, Daddy, can I have French fries and ice cream? Go for it, kid. I don't need to count the change, right? I don't need to count how many ice creams or how much French fries you're having, because it's already paid for. Go for it. So yes, that's what I do. I do love that about all inclusives. So
Yeah, I think that's kind of what's attractive to in my mind as well, that you can, like you, I'm a planner, so we make the plan, we know we can stick with the plan, and obviously there's buffer, there's everything, but I think that's why that's attractive.
what's great too, particularly what I like about, and this is probably more true of Mexico because of proximity. Like, Mexico has a proximity to some of the major U.S. airport hubs that, one, it makes it the flight is not horribly long, and two, it makes it easy to do a shorter vacation. Like, I have couples and clients who will do an all-inclusive for 3 or 4 or 5 nights, and and it's easy. It doesn't feel like a lot of work, right? um, you're not going to go to Europe for 5 nights, right? That's a lot of work. That's a huge flight with jet lag. Like 5 nights in Europe is a giant waste of money.
Mhm.
5 nights in Mexico or even 4 nights in Mexico is perfect. Like it's a perfect quick getaway. You feel like you actually left and went on vacation. You had an experience and you come back ready and refreshed to hit the ground running with the daily grind,
Mm,
you know?
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'll just ask about one other thing that, again, this is just my personal, but I think it's really interesting to other people. I was researching a couple years ago about resorts that have the over the water,
Bung-
like little cabana things.
yes, over the water bungalows. Oh,
Isn't that so cool? But there's like very few, right?
those are huge bucket lists. So those are really popular in the Maldives. And
Okay.
then there are a couple resorts in Mexico that have them, and there's a lot in um, Jamaica and a couple other islands that Sandals and Beaches Company does those a lot. The thing with those over the water bungalows is, man, bucket list, but they are pricey, right? They are not cheap. You know, they can range anywhere from 12 to $25,000 for a stay for a couple, right? There and most of them are not kid friendly. Most of them are for adults
Of
only.
course, which for safety alone, but
Yeah,
also
right, for safety
you
alone.
can't
But
jump in
yeah,
the ocean, you know.
yeah, yeah. Those can range anywhere from 12 to 25, $30,000 for a stay, depending on your length of stay and your resort. Like the Maldives, they tend to be on the more affordable side, but the flight there
You have to
makes
fly
it
over, which makes up for the rest.
which makes it crazy expensive. But yes, that's a dream right there. Someday,
Yeah,
if I sell enough travel and we have enough extra buffer income, maybe someday we'll do that, because that to just be over that blue water and see the fish and be able to jump right into the ocean and climb right. Oh, I mean, it's a
it's
dream.
really cool, right? And
Yeah,
we used to live in Florida, so it's really only after leaving Florida we start thinking about tropical vacations
of course, right?
um, but yeah, I'm with you. That's a bucket list item. So
Yes,
God willing.
yes,
Well,
absolutely.
great. Well, and I know you also do European travel, you do pilgrimages, you cover a lot for Catholic families.
Yeah.
Um, so is there any other little topic we want to cover? I know we're kind of coming up on our time.
Yeah, no, so in general, like I said, I'm always looking for people who want to lead pilgrimages. So like if you are somebody who's in ministry or you have a pastor who wants to lead a pilgrimage, I'm always looking for people who want to lead one and partner with the pilgrimage company I work with to help you build and market and get your pilgrimage set to go. So I do love that. That's one thing I've got. I think I have 4 pilgrimages traveling in 2027 with different leaders from different parts of the country. So that's a big thing. So that's one thing I do. And then just Europe and travel in general for Catholic families, especially my Catholic clients. I love pointing out, hey, you're going here, just so you know, these Catholic shrines exist there, or these things. Where clients will ask, "Can you help us find a place to go to mass? Because it's going to be, All Saints." I have clients going to Japan, and they specifically, when I wrote the company I'm working with to build their Japan itinerary, I said, "Look, they're going over All Saints. They need time in the day to go to All Saints Day Mass, and then they need time on the Sundays to go to Mass. So you can't plan a tour in there so that they can do it." So things like that. And then I had mentioned to you, I'm also doing one of the big things, kind of going back to cruising. Like a lot of times, back in the day, cruise ships used to have priests on them all the time, so that there was mass available for Catholics. And then over time, there were less. And there were a couple cruise lines still doing it. And then after COVID, there's literally zero cruise lines that do it, except for I want to say it's Christmas and Easter cruises. There's usually a priest on board for those two, obviously, like high feasts. But outside of that, you won't find a priest on board unless there's one on there of their own choice, not that the cruise line has recruited. And so kind of seeing that need, um, and having good relationship with priests, I've been working to kind of build cruises where I block off group space for Catholics, and then have a priest who agrees to be on board and say mass during the course of the trip. So I did my first go at it this last year. I had a group go to Alaska with a priest, and they had an amazing time. Next year, I have 2 cruises scheduled to go. One through Europe that's sailing from Rome to Venice with a priest on board for daily mass, and then a Danube River cruise with a priest on board for mass that's sailing from Budapest to Germany. And then another one in 2028. I'm trying to get we've got the group space blocked. I'm just getting the marketing materials ready for July of 2028 to Alaska. So anyway, that's sort of one thing I'm trying to do and build is provide easy opportunities for Catholics to do something like a cruise, but also have easy access to the sacraments while they're traveling. So
that's beautiful. When, like you said, when you have time for leisure, when better to just take a pause and go to mass.
Right. Yes.
So, okay. And so if any of our audience are listening, they say, oh, one of those cruises sounds really good. Or I have a bucket list trip we've been wanting to do forever. How early should they get in touch with you? What does that process look like working with you for planning one of these big trips?
So it really depends. In general, I tell people like the big Europe trips, give yourself 6 months to a year out to plan those. Cruises you can book as early as 18 months out. Generally, you don't necessarily need to book a cruise about a year to 18 months out, but you can even do last minute. You'll a lot of times find last minute availability. All inclusive, same thing. Like, believe it or not, I've worked with somebody, and this was last minute. Talk about last minute. I worked with a honeymoon couple. She called me on Monday and was like, by the way, I'm getting married Saturday and I want to leave on my honeymoon that next Monday. This was a week before. I don't know how we pulled it off. It was a miracle, but like Monday we started talking. Wednesday we booked it. She got married Saturday. On Monday they were on a plane to Jamaica that I had booked. So I've been known to work some miracles, but not my preference. Generally, I would say give yourself at least 6 months to plan a trip for the best availability and pricing. With that said, if you're like, I really have an opportunity and I want to do something next month, like, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll work with you and do my best, to plan. But yes, I would say in an ideal world, 6 months to a year to plan that big trip. So.
Well, I think most families probably are planning out like that, especially for budgeting purposes.
Right.
So then, to understand what it's going to cost, and therefore, how do we make a plan?
Right. And that is the thing that's great about a lot of these trips, especially the pre-planned, like the all-inclusives or the cruises, or even like the pre-planned land tours. You pay a small deposit, and then you have a year or 6 months or even 18 months to pay it off, right? So it's very easy to be like, okay, I'm going to put $500 on a cruise for my family down, right? And then I don't have to pay the remaining balance for another 12 months. And that's a good place to kind of think and be like, okay, then it becomes manageable rather than I'm going to throw $10,000 right now because it's last minute and I want to make it happen. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, this has been awesome, Jose. Thank you so much for answering mostly my questions. But I think it's great for everyone to hear about all of your expertise, that you can kind of help and guide families with their travel, or couples as well, of course.
Yes.
So your website is goingplaceswithgonzo.com.
Correct.
And
yes.
Jose, of course, is found on Catholic Owned. So be sure to reach out to Jose if you're even just dreaming of a trip, it's always good to have a guide to see about making that into a reality.
Yes.
So thank you, Jose, so
Thank
much
you,
for being
Brooke.
with us. This is great. And thank you to our audience for tuning in live. This has been Catholic Owned Live, the show where we talk honestly about faith, work, vocation, and what it really takes to build the new Catholic economy. I will be back next week on Wednesday with another wonderful guest. But until then, God bless you, and I will see you soon.
God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll just wrap up and then we can chat.